How are you all? Today is the solar eclipse, so it is 2nd July 2019. In Hinduism, they practice certain methods, certain rituals on this particular auspicious day. But this is also the only day where even non-Hindus follows what Hindus follow on this day, like not letting women out of their home during the eclipse period, not eating the food that is left out during the eclipse period. So it obviously involves the life of a newborn baby. That is why people, irrespective of their religions, follow this. But there is a spiritual aspect to this solar eclipse which nobody talks about. So one might wonder that even they keep the temples shut during the eclipse time. So people think that if the doors are kept open, then the positive energy in the temple will be lost out. So they think that eclipse is that dangerous. But in reality, it has a totally different spiritual story to it. So according to the spiritual story, it goes that the deities and the devils, they work together in getting out the potion by churning the ocean. So they succeeded in getting the potion or the nectar. So now at the time of sharing that between the devils and deities, the devil named Rahu, he gets very greedy and he just stole that nectar away from them, and Lord Vishnu came to the rescue and he disguised himself as a girl, a very beautiful girl called Mohini, and he dances in front of the devils, and at the time they get intoxicated by the beauty of the Mohini, he took out the nectar and he came back to deities and he started distributing to the deities. So Rahu, on knowing this, he disguised himself as a deity and he was standing along with deities while Vishnu is distributing the nectar. Rahu actually got it from Vishnu, and at the time when he was drinking it, sun and moon standing on both sides of Rahu, they informed Mahavishnu that he doesn't belong to us, he's not a deity. So at that point Mahavishnu he stuck his head with a spoon, with a ladle. So that's when Rahu gets angry on sun and moon, and he takes a vow that he will engulf sun and moon on a particular day in a year, every year. So that's the story behind the solar and lunar eclipse. So people think there is a snake called Rahu that swallows the sun during the eclipse. But now, due to these scientific discoveries, we know that it is actually the moon that overshadows the sun when it comes in line with sun, moon and earth. So it represents the point where the sun's light is blocked by moon, from falling on earth. That is what we call as the solar eclipse. And people don't eat the leftover. So what is the reason behind that? There is a spiritual aspect to that. Just because people do not know the spiritual aspect to it, they start finding some scientific reason for that and start following that blindly. The spiritual aspect to that will be revealed only when you know in brief about the spiritual knowledge given directly by God. God says a kalpa is a time cycle of 5,000 years, and the first half of a kalpa is heaven and the next half is hell. God creates this earth as heaven, and we, when we took birth in the beginning, were deities, and we had this tremendous power of making anything happen. We can make it rain, we can make it stop the rain in an instant, just by the power of our thought. Such was the power of our thought. Not only that, we even deliver babies by the power of thought and not by physical relationship as it happens now. So after the completion of 2500 years, after taking several rebirths, when we start taking birth in hell, we lose that power because we tend to fall for the vices like lust, anger, greed, attachment and ego. But in heaven, we were not slaves for these vices. The reason is we didn't consider ourselves to be this perishable body while in heaven. Instead, we considered ourselves to be the imperishable soul that shines like a tiny star in between the eyebrows, which is why we keep bindi right here. So that's how we consider ourselves, and that's how we consider the others we speak with. So obviously there won't be lust between a star and another star, right? So that's why we had that enormous strength. Not only that, when we think of ourselves as a point of light, then we will be utterly peaceful, utterly blissful and very happy throughout. So we didn't depend on the external thing for peace or happiness, because we ourselves were the embodiment of bliss and peace. But the moment we forget that we are souls, that is when we started to seek out peace from the external, and obviously we wouldn't get it, which is why our pain and sorrow keep on increasing no matter how much devotion we do in all religions. And during the end of hell, that is the last 100 years of Kali Yuga, God himself comes from his supreme abode and he enters an old man's body, because he doesn't take birth like us through a womb. So he directly enters a person's body, an old man's body, and he names him Brahma, and through his mouth he gives this knowledge called Murli, which you can get in all Rajayogi meditation centers totally free of cost. Or if you send your message to this WhatsApp number, we will also be sending you the address of Rajayogi meditation center in your area. +91 98 946 71743. And God says, you have lost all your power now. To regain all the power, you need to remember God and nothing else. And before that, you have to consider yourself as a point of light and not as this perishable body. So the more we remember God, which is called yoga, we will have this strange pulsating sensation in between the eyebrows, which means we receive the divine power from God. as a result, we will see that these 5 vices like lust, anger, greed, attachment and ego, they gradually fade away from our mind and intellect. That is when we get the power equal to God. So obviously the Kali Yuga will be destroyed in the end, which is why they create those atomic bombs, and there will also be natural calamities. So before that, we have to fill ourselves with all the divine powers by keep on remembering God. So it requires effort. So the amount of power that you have accumulated before you leave this body will determine when you will enter heaven. So during the world destruction, obviously all the souls have to leave their bodies and they will reach the soul world. And if we have filled ourselves with more power, then we'll be entering heaven in the beginning itself, so that we can enjoy the heaven throughout. If we haven't accumulated enough power, then we'll be entering heaven only in the later period. If we haven't accumulated any power at all, then we'll be entering only hell directly. So this is what God's knowledge is all about. And not only this solar eclipse, but all the functions of any religions, they all represent the effort that we put in the last 100 years on hearing the God's knowledge to accumulate the divine power and to conquer these 5 vices. So similarly, this solar eclipse falls on that category as well. So people avoiding the old food represents as avoiding these 5 vices that we have been slaves for in the last 2 yuga, that is Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga. So we have to renounce those vices. And also they say they should not have physical relationship during the solar eclipse. It obviously means that we should not fall for lust during the last 100 years, because that's how we can accumulate power, that's how we can connect ourselves to God. If we don't give up the physical relationship or lust, then we can't connect ourselves with God, thereby we won't receive any power. So these are the things that we actually follow here, and everything happens in the path of devotion is just the memory of that's it. So the reason they keep the doors of temples shut is because it is we who were deities in the beginning that have been eclipsed by these 5 vices now. So that overshadows us. So in memory of that, they keep the door of the temple shut, because the deities that were worshipped in the temple, they are in danger during the last 2 yugas, that is Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga. So this is the actual reason behind this solar eclipse. So actually the eclipse happens for the past 2500 years, and only now we know that, and also we know about the method to come out of the eclipse. The more we hold on to God Shiva through our remembrance, the more is the chance that we can come out of the eclipse totally, pretty soon. So yes, the name of the God is Shiva, and the same God is called Allah by Muslims, and Heavenly Godfather by Christians, and God is always one, and He is the Father of all souls. That is why we have to remember Him. So that's the only way to wash out all our past sins, and we can become as pure as deities as we were in the beginning. So the amount of the power of purity that we accumulate before leaving this body is going to determine when you are going to enter heaven soon. So that's it for now. This is the actual reason for all the religious rituals that's followed on solar eclipse. So if you like this video, please like this video and leave your valuable comment, and also keep sharing this video with your friends and relatives. And also, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe and hit on that bell to receive the notification daily. Om Shanti. Thanks for watching.